Well, the new discovery that I've been talking about really is a discovery that all of our personality traits, all of the things that we previously thought as individual and discrete differences between us, all actually exist within a framework. And that framework is a framework of time. It's very simple. It has future, present, and past. And what that does very conveniently for us is it creates a map so that within that framework or within that map, we can actually locate and understand the reasons behind, if you will, the motivations, all of these individual personality traits. And personality traits, marketing data points, it doesn't really matter what you want to call them. The fact of the matter is that they live, if you will, within a map which is understandable and definable and gives us a great deal of insight into actually why people are the way that they are. Well, I think that the single largest thing that I was trying to answer for myself was a question which really arose when I was living in Africa, and I lived there for almost 6 years. And as I left Africa and came to the United States, the question that was sitting foremost in my mind was this: how come a relatively small number of Western-thinking people had managed to dominate a continent, vast continent, of people for such a long time? And I realized that it really wasn't about strength in the typical physical sense. It was about the fact that Western mind, or Western man with mind, had managed to create a form of thinking, a way of thinking, that allowed them to dominate people who did not have that same structure of thought. So if you will, Western thinking is, to this day, the most successful way of thinking that we've discovered as humans. And so our ability to think the way that we do in the West should be seen as an advantage, and it should also be a caution to us in that if we're going to change the population of this world, if we're going to give ourselves a level playing field, what we really need to do is to start thinking about how do we educate everybody to the same level of thinking so that they can actually engage and be a productive part of society. Well, I think that marketers are spending a great deal of time and a great deal of resource looking at the psychology of consumers. I think that what I would say is that there are two things in effect. Firstly, I'm not sure that they really know what they're looking at yet. And I know, yes, any individual data point, they do know that, and I don't mean to be insulting in any way. But I think that one has to stand back and say, what is the framework, or what are all of these individual data points existing in? What's the container? And how can we understand a little bit more of the causality behind them as opposed to just looking at the behavior? So when we measure behavior, we're measuring a reaction to something. We're measuring the effect, if you will. But if we don't understand the cause, then we really don't understand what it's about. So I think there are two issues. One, in measuring the effect, if you will, the behavior, and in measuring it so immediately, we seem to think that by changing something, if we do not see an immediate effect in an individual, that therefore that thing, that action that we took is not the right action. And so I think one of our problems is that we are not being realistic in the time frames that we use to understand individuals and how individuals change and how they will respond to various behavioral stimuli. So you could put an offer in front of a particular thinking style and you will not get an immediate response. It sometimes takes weeks or months for that kind of an individual to actually trust what it is that you're saying. So I think there really are those two different parts to it. One, we need to be a little bit more deeper in our thinking around what it is that we're looking at and what the implications are and what the cause is behind it. And secondly, we need to start bringing time as a framework into understanding the cause and effect and how long it actually might take those effects to be seen as causes. Yeah. Oh, no, I think psychographics are very, very important. And in fact, the term psychographics, I'm not sure that we really have a very good understanding of what that means. Or, you know, what Mind Time does is psychographics. Psychographics is the measurement of the psyche. So psychographics are very, very important. What I'm going to say is that we need to expand the conversation about psychographics, and we need to understand psychographics in the context of what is it really telling us, how reliable is it, how ubiquitous or how spread or normed across a population group it really is. And I think what we would do us a great favor for all of us is to reduce the number of psychographic markers, if you will, the data points, down to the ones that really, really matter. And at the moment, I think psychographic is being confused with the idea that a data point is a psychographic. And I often see data points which actually have nothing to do with the psyche whatsoever. They have to do with a cause and effect of a different kind. So I think we're looking at it realistically. Psychographics will always be with us. It's simply the study of the psyche and the measurement of that psyche. The question is, what are we measuring and what is it really telling us?